So, without further ado, I'm going to turn the podium or the microphone over to Serra Tinic, University of Alberta sociologist. Sarah.
Given the brevity of our respective talks, I'm going to focus my comments on the question as it pertains to YouTube, and then I hope I'll be able to speak to the other sites in our larger group discussion. For those of you who may never have encountered YouTube, if you go to youtube.com, what you'll find is a video web sharing site. And it really is basically that simple, where you can search and look for different topics, issues, and see what people have posted in video form on the web. So to get to the question, YouTube, does it matter? I would argue, yes, it most definitely does. And to fully understand the significance of a phenomenon like YouTube, I think it's imperative that we locate it within long-standing policy and academic arguments about the role of media in liberal democracies. Herein, we see a history of idealistic expectations in which the media have been seen as integral arbiters or guarantors of a public sphere in which informed, free debate underpins the democratic process. It's a philosophy very much aligned with the concept of a marketplace of ideas, where a multitude of diverse voices is imperative to both identifying the important issues of the day as well as holding to account those who exercise social, economic, and political power. Now, a second and related role has been assigned to the media, and that is to operate as community builders by providing us with the stories and images that will connect us to one another and give us a shared sense of ourselves as a society. Now, here in Canada, we're particularly attuned to this argument, as fostering national media forms has long been equated with cultural sovereignty and the formation of a national sensibility or a national community. Now, if we consider these utopian visions of the media within our contemporary communications landscape, we can see the contradictions between idealism and reality. Today, we see an increasingly limited number of venues for diversity of expression, especially in the form of dissent, given the degree of concentration of ownership of the media industries. And to the extent that media are economic as well as cultural institutions, anything that might jeopardize the bottom line of profit will probably not be welcome in the mediated public sphere. And this is precisely where YouTube provides an important intervention into, or what I might call a disruption of the business as usual attitude of the media industries, whether we're speaking in terms of entertainment or news production. YouTube literally turns the top-down approach of the media on its head, as users are not passive audience commodities, but actual programming contributors. Anyone who has access to basic digital technologies and can produce and webcast a video segment on any topic of their choosing. This can and does range from, the apparently mundane everyday activities of a child's birthday party to amateur filmmaking, to videographic evidence of human rights violations occurring around the world that haven't been reported in the mainstream media. And also, through its comment sections, YouTube allows for immediate audience response and engagement with the exhibited material. If you read through viewer commentary for the majority of clips, you'll notice their capacity for banality, perhaps profanity, but often also insightful and engaged discussions. Overall, very much like the everyday dialogue that informs our lives, but would be quite impossible to imagine occurring in response to a broadcast television audience situation. And it's also important to note that the communal aspects of YouTube are global in scope, as contributions are made from people around the world, and we're given the opportunity to engage with popular culture and ideas and debates that transcend national borders. So to give you an idea of the impact and reach of YouTube, within 6 months of its launch, approximately 100 million video clips were being viewed every day, and 65,000 videos were being uploaded every 24 hours. So as an electronic public sphere, YouTube provides a forum for alternative voices and uncensored commentary and response that at least approximates the idealistic vision for democratic media forms to a much greater extent than do our mainstream media institutions. Now, with all of that said, I don't want to leave the impression that YouTube is the new utopian electronic frontier. Part of its beauty as an anarchic form, free from gatekeepers, also means that it's rife with fakery, hoaxes, and disinformation, as groups and individuals exploit its potential to gain an audience for their own purposes. Probably the most famous example is that of Lonely Girl 15, who drew one of the largest audiences on the site through her self-confessional episodes where she spoke through her web camera about the trials and tribulations of teenage life. Lonely Girl drew an unprecedented number of daily hits as people were fascinated by the seeming authenticity of her video diary. It was later exposed that Lonely Girl was an actress, Jessica Rose, and that her story was the creation of 2 California filmmakers. But interestingly, people didn't seem to mind being the targets or victims of the hoax, and Rose went on to eventually land a role in one of the latest movies starring Lindsay Lohan, and the 2 producers have since received financing to develop future stories for distribution on YouTube. But on a level with perhaps greater implications, international political groups have also used YouTube to spread misinformation, or what some people have labeled as propaganda, in an attempt to win support for their causes. So overall, YouTube can be a double-edged sword, as it exposes us to a plethora of images and ideas, but it also makes it more difficult for us to determine what to trust or believe, as there's no editor or fact-checker to validate any of the content for us. And I don't think this is necessarily a bad thing, because it forces us to be more active and responsible thinkers who seek out further sources of information to verify the veracity of what YouTube offers. And I would argue that given our accustomed complacency in accepting the authority of news anchors to deliver us with packaged truths, a healthy skepticism of YouTube content could be a fruitful offering to a better democratic process. And so to wrap up, how am I doing on time? 1 minute, okay. It's still early days for YouTube, and it's impossible to predict its future direction. The fact that Google was willing to pay $1.65 billion to purchase YouTube indicates the desire to exploit its economic potential to the fullest, and it remains uncertain whether or not this will lead to structural changes. But at its most fundamental level, I think YouTube and similar cyberspaces force us to reconceptualize the social and political role of the media and how we might envision the creation of more participatory communication forms given the available technological resources. Thank you.